My mama and my daddy was fighting last night. Yeah, she kicked my daddy out. What she kick him out for? Cause he was cheating on her with my auntie. Yeah. I like your hair. Thank you. That's a week.
At 5:09 p.m. on a summer Saturday, gunfire tears through a blue Nissan Maxima parked near Echo Highlands Park. 28-year-old Archia Berry doesn't reach for her phone to call 911. She doesn't send a final message to her family. Instead, as bullets rip through the metal around her, she types a single word and hits send. Jaco. In the back seat, her 5-year-old son Landon sits strapped in his booster seat, still wearing the football jersey he had on at practice just 2 hours ago. Number 3. 60 seconds later, a lime green Kia Soul races out of the neighborhood. The Nissan's automatic crash system dials emergency services. When officers arrive minutes later, they find all 3 people inside the car dead. The vehicle crashed into someone's front lawn, bullet holes covering the doors and windows. July 13, 2024 will be remembered as one of Birmingham, Alabama's deadliest days in decades. 7 people killed, 10 more wounded, all within 6 hours. One of those crime scenes held 3 victims. A 5-year-old boy who was supposed to start kindergarten that fall, his mother who had rebuilt her life after tragedy, and her boyfriend who had never been arrested. That one-word text message would become the key to solving a triple murder. But first, investigators had to understand how $2,000 could lead to this. Welcome to True Crime Anatomy. To all our amazing subscribers, thank you for being here. I pray you and your families stay safe. If you're new, please subscribe, like, and share. Here, we tell the parts of the story the media never talks about. Archia Berry was born on September 9, 1995 in Birmingham, Alabama. She grew up in Center Point, a suburb just northeast of the city, and graduated from Parker High School in 2013. After graduation, she enrolled in cosmetology school. Hairstyling wasn't just a career choice for Archia, it was her path to independence. She built her business one client at a time. By 2024, her Instagram page had more than 3,400 followers. People didn't just come to her for haircuts, they came because she made them feel seen. Her cousin Anya later described their bond as inseparable. 2 peas in a pod, she said. Archia poured everything into her work and her family. On March 3, 2019, Archia gave birth to her son, Landon Brooks. From that moment, her entire world shifted. She was a single mother, and she chose to embrace it. Every late night, every dollar earned, every sacrifice, it was all for him. Archia was building something permanent, something she could pass down to her son. But violence had already found its way into Archia's life. September 25, 2020, 4 o'clock in the morning. Firefighters were called to the Watertown Lodge Apartments in Birmingham's Roebuck neighborhood. The report came in as a small material fire, nothing major. When they arrived, they found light smoke coming from a downstairs unit. Inside, they discovered 27-year-old Ladarius Jameel Brooks, Landon's father. He had been shot to death. Someone had set small fires around his body, trying to destroy the evidence. The flames didn't take, but the damage was done. Investigators determined it was arson intended to cover up a murder. No one was ever arrested. No leads went anywhere. The case went cold. Landon was only 18 months old. For Archia, this wasn't just grief, it was a warning. Violence had taken Landon's father and left no answers. Landon's grandmother, Tammy Brooks, had already buried her son. Now she was helping raise a toddler who would never know him. Archia became everything to Landon after that. Mother, father, protector. She carried the weight alone. The years between 2021 and 2024 were about survival and growth. Archia focused on giving Landon the childhood he deserved. And Landon, he thrived. By age 5, he was a bright, smiling kid who played football for the Wahuma 5U team. His jersey number was 3. His coach, Keldrick Marsh, remembered him as a boy who brought joy everywhere he went. "Great smile," Marsh said. He brought happiness to the team. Landon was counting down the days to kindergarten. He talked about it constantly. The team adopted a saying for him, "Long live number 3." Around this time, Archia met Eric Ashley Jr. He was 28 years old, from Hoover, Alabama. Eric had no criminal record, not even a traffic ticket. He was steady, calm. He stepped into Landon's life naturally, taking on a father figure role without forcing it. For the first time in years, Archia had stability. The three of them were building something real, something safe, or so she thought. What Archia didn't know was that Eric's phone contained a name that would change everything. Saved in his contacts were two entries, Jack and Jekko. Both names pointed to the same person, Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, a 25-year-old from Birmingham. McGregor stood 6'2" and weighed 165 pounds. In 2021, he had pleaded guilty to receiving stolen property. He had other charges pending, including probation violations and first-degree robbery. Eric and McGregor knew each other. How well, investigators would later try to determine, but the relationship was close enough that Eric had saved his number twice. In the days leading up to July 13, 2024, Eric searched for McGregor's Facebook profile multiple times. Text messages between the two men showed they were planning to meet up. The messages didn't specify when or where, just that it was happening soon. Neither man mentioned Archia or Landon. But on that Saturday afternoon, all three of them would end up in that blue Nissan Maxima heading toward Indian Summer Drive. And waiting for them, according to investigators, was Jacorian McGregor. The digital trail was already being built. Eric's searches, the text messages, the phone calls, none of them knew it yet, but every electronic interaction was creating a timeline that would later be used in court. What started as a $2,000 debt was about to end in a way no one could take back. Saturday, July 13, 2024, started like any other summer weekend in Birmingham. That morning, Landon was at football practice with his Wahuma 5U team. Coach Keldrick Marsh spent hours with the kids, running drills and watching them play. Landon was laughing, smiling, doing what 5-year-olds do. He had no idea these would be his last hours on that field. Archia was working, texting with clients about appointments, managing her schedule. Her phone buzzed throughout the day with the usual business messages. Care, bookings, life moving forward. Eric's phone was active too, but his messages weren't about work. He was texting back and forth with the contact saved as Jacorian McGregor. Investigators would later piece together what these messages were about. According to their findings, Eric owed McGregor money, $2,000. The texts that morning were getting more direct, more urgent. A meeting was being arranged for that afternoon. What's unclear is whether Eric told Archia about any of this. Did she know about the debt? Did she know they were meeting someone that day? Or did Eric keep it to himself, thinking he could handle it quietly? By this in 2024, Birmingham was already drowning in violence. 74 people had been murdered since January, a 17.39% increase from the year before. Police Chief Scott Thurmond had been making public pleas, asking the community for help, for information, for anything that could slow the bloodshed. Nobody knew what was coming that evening. The afternoon unfolded the way Saturdays do. Landon came home from practice, still buzzing with energy. Eric was quiet. He was preparing for the meeting with McGregor, though what that preparation looked like, we don't know. Did he bring the money? Did he plan to negotiate? Did he think about what could go wrong? Somewhere across Birmingham, another family was preparing too. They were planning a birthday celebration at an event center on 27th Street North. Friends and relatives were gathering to mark July birthdays, expecting nothing but music and cake. They had no way of knowing that in just a few hours, their celebration would turn into a massacre. 17 people would be shot, 4 would die. But that was still 7 hours away. Then Archia picked up her son. Eric joined them. The three of them got into Archia's blue Nissan Maxima and drove toward Indian Summer Drive, near the entrance to Echo Highlands Park. They were heading to meet Jacorian McGregor. What happened next was captured with chilling accuracy. At 5:07 p.m., a lime green Kia Soul arrived in the area near Echo Highlands Park. The car moved slowly down the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive, a quiet residential street where families were inside making dinner. 1 minute later, at 5:08 p.m., Archia's blue Nissan Maxima appeared on the same camera. Landon sat in the back seat on the driver's side, strapped into his booster seat. Eric was in the passenger seat. Archia was behind the wheel. The two vehicles were now in the same place. What investigators believe there was a confrontation. Eric and McGregor, face to face. The $2,000 debt. Words exchanged, voices raised. Then, escalation. McGregor made a choice. He pulled out a 9mm handgun. Gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the Nissan's doors, windows, and frame. Archia was hit. Eric was hit. And in the back seat, 5-year-old Landon, still in his booster seat, was hit too. In those final seconds, as her body was torn apart by bullets, Archia Berry didn't scream. She didn't beg. She reached for her phone. At exactly 5:09 p.m., she typed one word and sent it to a friend. Jaco. At the same moment, Eric's phone dialed McGregor's number. Whether it was intentional or accidental, the call went through. Both actions, Archia's text and Eric's call, happened at 5:09 p.m. Then at 5:10 p.m., the lime green Kia Soul sped out of the neighborhood. Surveillance captured it racing away. No other cars followed. No other vehicles left the scene. Archia, wounded and dying, tried to drive. The Nissan lurched forward, jumped the curb, and crashed into the front yard of a nearby home. By the time it stopped, all 3 of them were dead. At 5:10 p.m., the Nissan Maxima's automatic crash detection system activated. The car's sensors recognized the impact and immediately placed a call to emergency services. The system reported a vehicle collision on the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive. The dispatcher sent it out as a traffic accident. East Precinct officers were dispatched to the scene. At 5:20 p.m., 10 minutes after the crash, police arrived. They pulled up to a quiet residential block and saw the blue sedan sitting in someone's front yard. The car was facing the wrong direction, nose tilted upward from where it had jumped the curb. The officers stepped out of their vehicles and approached cautiously. Then they saw the bullet holes. The Nissan was riddled with them. The doors, the windows, the roof. Dozens of entry points where rounds had punched through metal and glass. This wasn't a car accident. The officers drew their weapons and moved closer. They peered through the shattered windows. Inside, they found Archia Berry, 28 years old, slumped between the front and back seats. She had tried to move, tried to reach her son, but hadn't made it. Her body bore multiple gunshot wounds. In the passenger seat sat Eric Ashley Jr., 28 years old. He was motionless, his head tilted back, multiple gunshot wounds. And in the back seat on the driver's side, still strapped into his booster seat, was Landon Brooks, 5 years old. He was wearing his football jersey. Number 3. Multiple gunshot wounds. One of the officers called for Birmingham Fire and Rescue. Paramedics arrived within minutes. At 5:30 p.m., all 3 victims were pronounced dead at the scene. There were no goodbyes, no final words spoken, no chance for anyone to say they loved each other one last time. Just Archia's text message. One word, sent in her final moments. Jaco. Birmingham homicide detective Jarvelius Tolliver arrived at the scene and immediately took the lead on the investigation. He had worked murders before, but the presence of a child victim changed everything. This case would demand precision. Within the first hour, Tolliver and his team began collecting the victims' cell phones. They needed to know who these people had been in contact with, where they were going, and why. The phones were sent for immediate analysis. Then came the breakthrough. On Archia Berry's phone, investigators found a text message sent at exactly 5:09 p.m. One word, Jaco. It had been sent to a friend. The timestamp matched the moment of the shooting. On Eric Ashley's phone, they found a call placed to a contact saved as Jaco at the same time, 5:09 p.m. The call had connected, lasting only seconds before ending. Scrolling further back through Eric's messages, investigators found texts between him and the same contact. The messages from earlier that day showed the 2 men arranging to meet. The tone of the texts suggested urgency. Plans were being made, though the exact location wasn't specified. Physical evidence backed it up. Investigators recovered more than 30 shell casings from the scene, all 9mm ammunition. The bullet trajectories showed the shots had been fired from outside the vehicle, aimed directly at the occupants. The Nissan was riddled with holes, doors, windows, frame. This wasn't random, this was targeted. Execution style. Within 24 hours, Detective Tolliver knew exactly who they were looking for. But July 13, 2024 wasn't done with Birmingham yet. Just hours after Landon, Archia, and Eric were killed, another shooting erupted across the city. A birthday party at an event center on 27th Street North turned into a bloodbath. 4 people were killed, 10 more were wounded.
tonight. The community is remembering the 4 people lost in a mass shooting at a Birmingham nightclub. You'll remember the violence took place last weekend. 4 people were shot and killed, 10 more were injured, and today a funeral service was held for 3 of those victims.
Wailing inside of Boutwell Auditorium. People are hugging and crying as they say farewell to 3 people killed in the Birmingham nightclub shooting. Loranda Sanderson was 24, Markeisha Gettings was 42, and Angela Weatherspoon was 56. While at least 10 others were injured, one speaker saying many others are scarred.
I want to say to the family, this is not going to go away overnight. This is going to take a long time.
By the end of the day, 17 people had been shot in Birmingham. 7 were dead. Police Chief Scott Thurmond held a press conference the next morning. He stood before the cameras, visibly shaken, and said, "I can tell you from my almost 26 years, having 7 murdered in a day and 10 injured, I think that's probably the highest we've ever had. Today is probably the most tragic day in my time with the Birmingham Police Department."
We've deployed all of our detectives in the Birmingham Police Department to focus on these 2 particular cases to bring justice. And for those who are responsible for those heinous crimes, I want you to know that we will be coming for you with full force, with every piece of law enforcement that we have.
The mayor and federal law enforcement agents stood beside him, pledging swift justice. They asked the public for help, they offered rewards, they vowed to get the shooters off the streets. 2 days later, on July 15th, the community gathered at Wahuma Park to honor Landon Brooks. His football team, the Wahuma 5U, released balloons into the sky. Blue and white, Landon's team colors. The kids stood in a circle, some of them crying, all of them wearing their jerseys. "Long live number 3, they said. On July 25th, another vigil was held at Railroad Park. This time, Landon's grandmother, Tammy Brooks, spoke. Tammy had already buried her son, Ladarius, in 2020, Landon's father killed and burned in an unsolved murder. Now she was preparing to bury her grandson. 2 generations, both taken by violence. "Stop letting other people lead you into doing things that are wrong," she said to the crowd. "Things you can't turn back from." Her words hung in the air. The families prepared to lay their loved ones to rest. Landon and Archia would be buried together. Eric's funeral had already been held. But there was still no arrest. Investigators had a name, Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, 25 years old. The nickname Jaco was confirmed. He was known to Eric Ashley. They had communicated regularly. Eric had saved his number twice in his phone. McGregor's criminal history came back quickly. In 2021, he had pleaded guilty to receiving stolen property. He had outstanding probation violations. There were pending charges for first-degree robbery and carrying a pistol without a license. He was already wanted. Now he was wanted for capital murder. But Jacorian McGregor had vanished. A warrant was issued for his arrest in the days following the shooting. Investigators worked their sources, followed leads, checked known addresses. Nothing. McGregor had gone underground. Summer turned to fall. Weeks became months. The case stayed open, but the suspect remained out of reach. A $25,000 reward was offered for information leading to his arrest. Tips came in, but none of them panned out. The family held more vigils, demanding justice, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. On December 22nd, 2024, Jacorian McGregor turned 25 years old. He was still at large. Birmingham police intensified their search. They partnered with federal agencies. They tracked movements, monitored contacts, waited for him to make a mistake. 7 months had passed since the murders. Archia, Eric, and Landon were buried. Their families were still waiting for justice. And somewhere, Jacorian McGregor was hiding. But investigators knew something he didn't. They were getting close. By February 2025, 7 months had passed since the murders. The case had gone cold in the public eye, but investigators had never stopped working. A task force was assembled. Birmingham Police Department's crime reduction team joined forces with the U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force and the Alabama Pardons and Parole Division. These weren't ordinary street cops. These were specialists trained to find people who didn't want to be found. Intelligence came in. He was frequenting a location there, staying with someone, moving carefully but not carefully enough. On February 24, 2025, the task force set up surveillance. They watched the area throughout the day, tracking vehicles, monitoring movement. Then in the afternoon, they saw it. A lime green vehicle pulling up to the location. The same color as the Kia Soul captured on surveillance footage 7 months earlier. The driver stepped out, facial recognition confirmed it. Jacorian Deshaun McGregor. The order was given. Move in. Task force members approached the vehicle as McGregor got back inside. They identified themselves, ordering him to step out with his hands visible. McGregor didn't comply. Instead, he threw the car into gear and accelerated directly toward the law enforcement vehicles. He rammed into one of them, metal crunching against metal, then jerked the wheel and tried to flee. Officers blocked the exit. McGregor abandoned the car, jumping out and running on foot. The task force pursued. The chase didn't last long. Within seconds, McGregor was tackled to the ground and placed in handcuffs. Inside the vehicle, investigators found a 9mm handgun. A records check showed it had been stolen from the Birmingham area. Jacorian McGregor was taken into custody and transported to the Jefferson County Jail. The charges? Capital murder, 2 or more persons. In Alabama, that charge carries the possibility of the death penalty. Bond was denied. In April 2025, a preliminary hearing was held in the District Court of Jefferson County. Detective Jarvilius Tolliver took the stand. He reviewed the evidence and made his ruling. Probable cause was found. The case would be bound over to the grand jury for further proceedings. Jacorian McGregor would remain in custody without bond. A trial date was pending. The death penalty was still on the table. Tammy Brooks stood at her grandson's grave and thought about her son, Ladarius, killed in 2020. 2 generations of her family taken by violence. No answers for one. Justice pending for the other. Birmingham finished 2024 with 81 homicides. The violence continued. Vigils became a regular occurrence. Community leaders demanded change, but change came slowly. At Wahuma Park, Landon's football team still gathers. They still say his name. Long live number 3. His jersey hangs in the team's equipment room, retired in his honor. But one question lingers. Was it really just about $2,000? Was that all it took for 3 lives to end? For a 5-year-old boy to die in his booster seat? For a mother to bleed out while typing her killer's name? Could this have been prevented? Thank you for watching. If you've been affected by gun violence, or if you have thoughts on this case, share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters. Subscribe, like, and share to True Crime Anatomy for more stories like this. Cases where the media only scratches the surface and we go deeper. And here's a question for you. What would you have done in Archia's final moments? Be vigilant, stay safe, and remember, justice doesn't always come quickly, but it comes.